recording now. Welcome to the Arts and Cultural Funding Program 8-year webinar. This really will take you through the guidelines, how to apply and what the expectations are for the 8-year program. Next slide, please. Before we start, however, I would like to acknowledge all the First Nations people across the state and their continued connection to lands, water and culture. I come to you from the Gadigal lands, and I'd like to pay my respects to elders past, present, and the role that First Nations artists play in contributing to their culture. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. Just to begin with some housekeeping, if everyone can keep their camera off and mics muted, and if you do have any questions, please put them in the chat and we will get to them at the end of the presentation. Also, I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce the Key Arts Organisations team. So if you do have any questions, please reach out to the team directly. And you can do that via our multi-year at create.newsouthwales.gov.au email address, which we'll also put in the chat. So don't worry if you didn't have a chance to write it down. I have with us today Anna Elizabeth Aspinall, who is one of our amazing Key Arts Organisations managers. I have Kate Butler, who is also our Key Arts Organisation manager. I have Michael Huxley, who is our manager business analyst, and I have Katrina Norbergen, who is our Key Arts Organisation lead. So if there are any questions that come to you after this presentation, please contact the team and we will support you through all the multi-year processes. As you may be aware, the Creative Communities Policy, which was released at the end of 2023, made a commitment to reforming the Create New South Wales Arts and Cultural Funding Program. We've really taken our time in thinking about what the sector needs, listening to the feedback that came through the Creative Communities Policy, and have designed a program that really places the sector needs at the heart. We've made it simpler in terms of funding applications as well as guidelines. We've made it fairer where everyone will have to go through a competitive funding process as part of the Arts and Cultural Funding Program. And we've also made it faster to ensure applicants are able to access all the information that they need and complete applications in a timely manner. Next slide, please. As part of this reform, we've designed a new multi-year program, which is for funding starting from the 1st of January 2026. This includes a 2-year funding program, which is really focused on artistic and business innovation, looking at new models for arts organisations, and also enabling new and existing arts organisations longer term planning. We resoundingly heard from the feedback that annual funding wasn't working, and so we've really implemented this 2-year to address those concerns and issues raised by the sector. We also have 4-year multi-year funding, which is looking at strategic partnerships, collaboration, and artistic activity within the arts and cultural sector of New South Wales. And then we have 8-year funding, and this is about longer term investment for artistic and cultural leadership organisations. And the 8-year is really what we will focus on today. In terms of the timeframes, the 2-year funding will open next year in March. It will close in April with notifications to happen in June. The 4-year funding will open in October this year, closing in December, with notifications to happen in March 2025. And the 8-year funding is currently open. It will close on the 8th of August at 11 p.m. with notifications to happen in October. Next slide, please. So in terms of the 8-year funding, applicants can ask for between 400,000 and 6 million. It seems like a lot, but it is for a range of small to medium and large arts and cultural organisations. And again, this is because everyone will have to go through a competitive process. We're really committed to transparency in this funding program. And so all applicants will need to go through this. It's already opened, and as I said, and I will highlight this, it closes at 11 p.m. on the 8th of August. Next slide, please. In terms of eligibility, and again, all these guidelines are publicly available, but you need to be an independent, not-for-profit organisation whose primary purpose is the provision of arts and cultural services and activities. You need to be based in New South Wales and have at least 4 full-time or part-time employees. You also have to make sure your organisation adheres to the Indigenous cultural and intellectual property policies and create New South Wales's Aboriginal cultural protocols. To be eligible for 8 year as an organisation, you also had to have received 350,000 for the 2023 to 2024 financial year through multi-year or project funding, and that the organisation has a minimum average income of 750,000 or above from all sources. So please, when you are going through the guidelines before you start an application form, make sure that you're eligible. And if you're not eligible for 8 year, join our Create New South Wales mailing list, and we'll let you know when the 4-year and the 2-year guidelines are available, and you'll be able to check your eligibility against those. Next slide, please. In terms of the assessment for 8 year, there are 4 criteria, and this includes artistic and cultural leadership, diversity and participation, career pathways, and organisational sustainability. Artistic and cultural leadership is really about the role that your organisation plays in New South Wales, what activities you deliver, what services you deliver, and how you contribute to New South Wales as an leadership as an arts and cultural leadership within this state. Diversity and participation is around artists that you might be working with, communities that you might be supporting, audiences that you might be engaging with, and ensuring that they are representative of the whole of the state. Career pathways are about how do we support our emerging artists and arts workers to develop strong and sustainable careers within New South Wales. And then organisational sustainability is really around making sure that you're financially stable, sustainable, but also that there are safe work practices in place within your organisation. As part of your application, you'll have to provide a range of support material, including a strategic plan, an artistic plan of activities, and existing financial information that you will have, as well as employment and audience statistical data. Next slide, please. In terms of the strategic plan, it's mandatory to make sure that it includes all these components, which is your vision and your mission, what you hope to achieve and how you're going to achieve it. Making sure that you're addressing the strategic priorities in relation to your mission and vision. A summary of your achievements and their outcome. what you've done in the past, examples of past work and critical and or audience responses to it, really looking at the future programs that you intend to deliver over this period, an analysis of your internal and external operating conditions, strategies and goals for the future, audience development activity, support for arts and cultural workers' career pathways, looking at your governance, how your organisation will support and safeguard modern work practices, a financial summary, and also your marketing and communications plan. We have provided templates that you can access, as well as a help guide for the strategic plan, and we will put those in the chat. They are also linked to your application form and to the guidelines. So we don't expect organisations to just have to create this from scratch. We really want to be able to support you in this process. Next slide, please. The application also has 2 questions, which is please provide a description of the unique role your organisation plays in the New South Wales arts ecology. And this is about what it is that makes you unique, why you exist, what you do. If you're a service organisation, what's your unique provision of capacity building or skills development that you deliver for your selected communities? So it's really thinking about what makes you unique within the New South Wales state. And then describe how your organisation will deliver on the Arts and Cultural Funding Program strategic priorities. It is a condition of 8-year funding that organisations will deliver on all of the strategic priorities. And here you would provide your description of the activities, how you might engage with artists, with audiences, with your communities within those strategic priority areas. Next slide, please. And so in terms of these, the Creative Communities Policy identified a series of key priorities, and these were First Nations self-determined leadership in the arts, culture and creative industries, LGBTIQ+, regional and demographic equity, and sector capacity building and sustainability. The arts and cultural funding program strategic priorities that you will need to address are First Nations stories and communities, Western Sydney and or regional New South Wales, the next generation of creatives and audiences, a broad and inclusive communities and content, and accessibility and equity. Next slide, please. In terms of First Nation stories and communities, this is a recognition that our New South Wales First Nations people is the oldest continuous living culture in the world. First Nations is a broad term, but it refers to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. And it's really about focusing support for cultural continuity and artistic endeavours. And also when we do work with our First Nations communities, making sure that Indigenous cultural and intellectual property rights are adhered to, and also that Aboriginal cultural protocols are met. Next slide, please. In terms of Western Sydney and or regional New South Wales, up on the screen we have the definitions of Western Sydney and also of regional New South Wales. So this is about working within these areas, working with communities, working with audiences, and again, what is that unique proposition that you bring in working with this strategic priority area, or operating, living and existing within this strategic priority area. Next slide, please. There's the next generation of creatives and audiences, and this is really focused on young people between 18 and 25 years old, emerging artists and arts and cultural workers. It's looking at the creation of sustainable career pathways and also building new audiences through this demographic as well, which is really, really important for our future. Next slide, please. Broad and inclusive communities and content. And again, this refers to the wide diversity of New South Wales people. It ensures that arts and cultural activity is available for all of our communities across this state. And that we're engaging audiences and artists again from a broad cross section of New South Wales. Next slide, please. Accessibility and equity. This really is about ensuring that there is as few barriers as possible for engagement with your programs, with your activity. It includes people with disability and or who are lowercase d, uppercase D deaf, and it really is about making sure that everyone has access to participate and to experience New South Wales arts and cultural activity. Next slide, please. In terms of reporting, again, we're really committed to a simplification process. We heard how labour intensive our acquittals forward plans are, so we've really tried to streamline this. Because it is the 8-year program, there is more reporting that will be required from the 8-year clients. However, we've really tried to align this with reporting that you would already be doing. So we're not asking for additional information or information in ways that you already aren't producing. So we're really trying to make it as simple as possible. Successful 8-year applicants will be meeting with Create New South Wales on an annual basis, and there'll be some reports that you have to submit, but again, these will be in line with what you're already doing, so we're not going to be asking for anything additional within this process. Next slide, please. In terms of supporting you guys through your applications with the ACFP reformed program, we have a series of webinars. We did one earlier in the week, which was around the whole of the program reform. And again, links to those will be in the chat. We have today's. We also have a series of resources. How do you apply? How do you complete a budget? How do you complete a strategic plan? The template for the artistic program of activities. And we'll have a series of face-to-face sessions, which are also listed on our website across Sydney and regional New South Wales. We have one tomorrow, which is happening at Artspace, and one in Newcastle on Friday as well. So please make sure you're accessing the website, see where those sessions are, sign up to our e-news, and we'll be able to send you all the notifications. Also, as I introduced the Key Arts Organisations team, we are here to provide one-on-one application support meetings. You can book in those meetings through MS Word. There's a link that we'll be able to provide you, and we'll be able to answer your questions as they may be raised once you're going through the application form and have read the guidelines. Next slide, please. And I'm pretty sure that's the end. And there's the multi-year at create.newsouthwales.gov email address. Visit us at Create. Again, you might go away from this session, have a think about it, and have further questions. Please get in contact with my team. We will absolutely be able to answer them for you. And we really want to support applicants because this is such a new funding program through the simpler processes. That's the formal presentation part. I might go to the questions now, and I'm just going to ask Kate if you can read those out for me so I can answer.
Sure.
As they've come in.
A couple of questions so far about funding level and eligibility, about that $350,000 contribution funding from Create New South Wales. So does that need to be from Create New South Wales only, or is it New South Wales government funding? Is it for 8-year only? And then a follow-up question about that is how many regional cultural organisations or facilities will be eligible with that level? Let me know if you want me to break that up again.
That's all right. So the 350,000 is from Create New South Wales from currently multi-year and project funding combined. It's been designed that way so that organisations can move across the multi-year program. So you may put your first application in as a 2-year, and then you might build your capacity. Your next one might be a 4-year. Again, over the course of 4 years, you might build your capacity, and then you will be eligible for 8-year as well. So for us, we've really designed the multi-year program as a pathway program for organisations to be able to grow and increase over time. In terms, the second part of that question, Kate?
I'm just scrolling back up as well, sorry. So was how many regional cultural organisations or facilities might be eligible with this eligibility criteria?
I don't know the figure off the top of my head, but I do know that there will be regional arts organisations who will be eligible to apply.
Then we have go on, sorry.
And if they are unable to apply in this round, it might be that the second round of 8-year that will be looking at increasing those numbers.
Another question about the funding available. Is the $6 million the absolute upper limit of investment?
Yes.
And do we know the overall investment pool for the 4+4 funding program?
The budget was just released yesterday. We've had a small increase. The New South Wales government has committed 73 million to support all of the arts and cultural funding program. And this funding also sits alongside other key sector investments within the arts and culture and creative industries, including for screen and digital games, music, and the nighttime economy.
Thank you. Just a technical question. Will this session be recorded and available to share next week?
Yes.
Yes. And how often will the 8-year round be open?
It will, for this, because this is a transitional period, the 8 years will actually be 7 years. So it's based on a 3+4 model. And the reason for that is because we're really trying to align with Creative Australia. We don't want organisations who are developing strategic plans and having to put applications into Creative Australia to duplicate that work. There will be opportunities for organisations who, within their 3-year program, have increased their funding levels to then enter the 8-year frameworks within the midpoints as well.
Great. And does the 350,000 eligibility apply to 2- and 4-year funding? Can you provide an overview of eligibility for those programs at this stage?
The 3- and 4-year funding won't be subject to the same eligibility. Once we publish the 3- and 2-year guidelines online, and they become publicly available, we will run these same sessions for people to be able to attend them. We'll go through the detail. We just can't do that until they're public to ensure that everyone has the same information and access to the same information.
That's it for questions in the chat so
Amazing.
far.
Fantastic. Again, please reach out if you do have any questions. This presentation will go online. It will sit within our resources page, and also we'll send it to anyone that has registered, so you will have access to it. Please sign up to the Create New South Wales e-news if you haven't already, because that will also let you know when our 4-year and 2-year guidelines are publicly available as well. Thank you so much. Thank you to the team, and thank you to everyone for attending today. Lovely to see you all. Have a great day.